My friends, what if I told you that the greatest tests of life are not battles fought in the outer world, but subtle shifts that occur within the sanctuary of your mind? Tests are inner shifts, not external challenges. This idea may seem foreign to a world conditioned to believe that life's trials are obstacles to overcome with effort, endurance, and external action. But when one begins to truly understand the deeper nature of reality, it becomes clear that what we experience outwardly is a direct reflection of what is occurring inwardly. The so-called test does not come in the form of a failed relationship, a job loss, or an unanswered prayer. Those are just surface symptoms. The real test lies in how you perceive these moments, how you respond within, and whether you remain identified with lack or awaken to the truth of who you really are. The universe does not throw problems at you. It mirrors you. It mirrors your assumptions, your beliefs, your self-concept, and the dominant frequency you inhabit. When you feel you are being tested, what is truly happening is an invitation, a subtle but sacred opportunity to shift your identity. It is not about doing more. It is about being differently . The so-called test is whether you will react from your old self or respond from the new version you are becoming. Imagine you have affirmed a new reality, one where you are abundant, loved, chosen, or successful. And then everything around you seems to contradict it. People treat you the same way. Your bank account hasn't changed. The phone remains silent. Most would interpret this as a failure, a delay, or worse, a punishment. But in truth, this is not resistance. It is reflection. The outer world is echoing who you were not who you are becoming . The test isn't whether you can change the world. It's whether you can remain in your new state long enough for the world to catch up. So what feels like a test is actually the last breath of an old reality. It is the ghost of your past self trying to tempt you back into the familiar. It asks, are you sure? Are you really ready to let this go? And your answer doesn't come in words. It comes in your embodiment. Do you persist in the new story? Do you remain unmoved in your knowing, even when appearances suggest otherwise? That is the inner shift. That is the test. The old model teaches us to battle adversity and earn our breakthroughs. But the truth is, the test is not passed through struggle. It is passed through alignment. You are not being asked to perform more. You are being asked to assume more deeply. When you shift your inner state and remain loyal to it, when you dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled and stop checking the world for validation, you have already passed the test. The universe does not test your strength. It waits for your certainty. And once your inner world is stabilized, the outer world must, by law, conform. The universe is a mirror of your inner assumptions. This is not just a poetic metaphor, but a literal truth when understood through the lens of consciousness. Everything you see, experience, and interact with in the external world is responding to the beliefs, expectations, and assumptions you hold, often unconsciously, within yourself. What you assume to be true about yourself, others, and life becomes the framework through which reality is shaped and filtered. The universe does not give you what you want in a pleading or wishing sense. It gives you what you assume is yours, what you believe is natural, and what you accept as real. This is why two people can walk into the same room, face the same circumstances, and have entirely different experiences. It is not the external that changes. It is the internal lens. One person who assumes they are always rejected will perceive indifference or resistance even in neutral or kind behavior. Another who assumes they are loved and appreciated will see affection even in the smallest gestures. The reality they each witness is not objective. It is customized, shaped by the self, image, and core beliefs they carry. The universe simply reflects back the dominant tone of those beliefs. Assumptions are not fleeting thoughts. They are the quiet, often invisible beliefs that run in the background of your consciousness. They are what you return to in silence, what feels normal to you. If you assume that success is difficult, that people can't be trusted, or that life is a struggle, the world will faithfully present evidence to support those ideas, not as punishment, but as a mirror. The reflection is neutral. It has no opinion. It does not judge your assumptions. It simply responds. This is why inner work is so powerful and essential. When you shift an assumption, when you begin to accept a new truth as natural and live from that place, the world must reorganize to reflect it. The change often begins subtly. You might notice small changes in how people treat you, unexpected opportunities, or shifts in the energy of your environment. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. The mirror is adjusting to the new image you are projecting from within. Many people try to change their lives by rearranging outer conditions, forcing outcomes, or manipulating circumstances. But this is like trying to alter your reflection by touching the mirror. The real shift must happen behind the glass in you, as you revise your inner narrative and dwell in a state that assumes the desired outcome is already yours. The universe reshapes itself accordingly. It doesn't do so because you deserve it, or because you worked hard enough. It does so because that is the law. The mirror cannot help but reflect what you accept as real. Change your assumption, and you change the reflection. Not by effort, but by embodiment. Peace precedes proof. A deep inner calm is a sign. This is a truth often overlooked by those waiting for the world to change before they allow themselves to feel relief. In the conditioned human experience, we are taught that peace comes after achievement, that calm is the reward for external validation. But in reality, the spiritual order is reversed. True manifestations occur when peace arrives first, before there is anything in the physical world to justify it. This peace is not based on appearances, it is based on knowing. It comes when you have internally accepted the end as already accomplished. When you fully assume your desire as fulfilled, something curious happens. You stop needing the proof, the desperation vanishes, the clinging dissolves. You are no longer negotiating with life or demanding signs. There is no inner argument, no mental tug-of-war. You begin to feel still, settled, and undisturbed, even while nothing has yet changed in your circumstances. This is not passivity, it is power. It is the kind of quiet that speaks louder than effort, louder than striving. It is the inner confirmation that the seed has been planted and the harvest is inevitable. This inner calm is often misunderstood. It is not numbness or indifference. It is not apathy dressed up as spirituality. Rather, it is the gentle certainty that what you have imagined is already yours. You no longer need to be reassured because you have become the reassurance. You are not chasing signs. You are the sign. You walk differently. You speak differently, not because you're trying to convince others, but because you have convinced yourself. That conviction births peace, and that peace is the signal to the universe that the shift is complete. Many people ask, how do I know it's working? The answer is this: when you feel no urge to check, when you stop looking for evidence, stop refreshing the situation, and no longer feel urgency around the outcome, that is how you know. The need to see it disappears because something deeper has taken root. You have moved into the state of the wish fulfilled, and peace is its natural atmosphere. Peace is a spiritual indicator that you are in alignment with your assumption. It is the quiet hum of harmony between your desire and your belief. It is what remains when resistance has left the room, and this peace is not fragile. It does not waver with changing conditions, because it is not asterisk of asterisk the conditions. It is grounded in the unseen, in the imaginal, in the felt reality you have chosen to embody. From this state, the outer world must conform, but it doesn't matter how long it takes, because you are no longer waiting. You are resting, and that rest is not idle. It is creative. It is the same stillness from which all things emerge. When you truly feel it, you will understand. Peace is not the result. Peace is the beginning. Desire feels done, no grasping, no resistance. This is the moment when longing dissolves into embodiment, when the thing once sought after is no longer something you are chasing, but something you have become asterisk. Most people live in a state of perpetual wanting. They hope, wish, affirm, and visualize. Yet underneath all of it is a subtle desperation, a sense that what they desire is distant, separate, or not yet accessible. This distance, though often invisible, is vibrationally powerful. It sends a message to the universe: I do not have it yet. And as long as that message is the dominant frequency, the desire remains out of reach. But when a desire feels done, everything changes. You no longer grasp at it. You no longer seek signs or ask how long it will take. You are not acting out of lack or urgency. There is no inner push, no emotional friction. Instead, there is an effortless assumption, a quiet conviction that it is already yours. And this assumption does not need to be shouted or performed. It just is asterisk. It lives in your body. It breathes through your actions. You carry it in the same way you carry your name, not with doubt, not with questioning, but with absolute familiarity. This state of fulfillment before the fact is the true art of creation. When you dwell in the end, in the knowing that your desire is complete, the energy of grasping disappears. Grasping is rooted in fear, the fear that you are not enough, that time is running out, that the universe might forget you. But when desire feels done, that fear has no foothold. You are no longer trying to get something. You are allowing what already belongs to you to reveal itself in its time. Resistance vanishes in this state because you are no longer contradicting your own vision. Often, resistance is not the presence of negative thinking, but the absence of alignment. It shows up when part of you wants the desire, while another part doubts it, resents the weight, or doesn't feel worthy. But once you settle into the end, once the desire feels so natural that it no longer stirs anxiety, those contradictions fall away. You no longer oscillate between hope and despair. You simply are asterisk, and from that beingness, life reorganizes to meet your assumption. This is why people often receive their manifestations after they've let go. But letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the emotional charge, the attachment, the pressure. It means knowing it's done so deeply that you can move through your day with ease, joy, and detachment. You are not indifferent to the desire, you are at peace with it. You are not suppressing it, you have internalized it, and in that state there is no gap left to fill. You are not asking the universe to deliver. You are watching it unfold what has already been accepted within. You detach from the how and live in the now. This is one of the clearest signs that you've entered a higher state of consciousness, a state where manifestation is no longer a process of effort, but a flow of alignment. Most people become entangled in the mechanics of their desires, constantly wondering how it will happen, who will help them, when it will arrive, and through which path it will unfold. This obsession with the how is rooted in fear and control. It is the mind's way of trying to manage the unknown, to secure the outcome by dissecting the journey. But in truth, the how is never your job. It belongs to a higher intelligence, to the unseen orchestration that moves mountains without strain. When you detach from the how, you are not giving up on your desire. You are giving up the illusion that you must engineer every step of its arrival. You no longer feel the compulsion to force, to manipulate, or to hustle your way into alignment. Instead, you return to the only moment that is real, the present. You begin to live in the now with full presence, not because you've stopped caring about the future, but because you know the future is being shaped by who you are being right now. The now becomes sacred. The now becomes the place where the seed is watered, not worried over. When you live in the now, your energy shifts. You stop scanning the horizon for signs. You stop mentally projecting into imagined futures filled with what-ifs and anxieties. You root yourself in the experience of already having. You live from the end, not in anticipation of it. There is no frantic searching for clues or evidence. Instead, you become the evidence. Your state of being reflects the truth you've accepted, that what you desire is already yours, and its path to you is none of your concern. This kind of detachment is not passive. It's powerful. It says, I trust the process so deeply that I don't need to monitor it. It says, I believe in the unseen so completely that I can rest in the seen without resistance. You don't need to trace the threads the universe is weaving behind the scenes. You just need to remain in the frequency of the outcome. And when you do, life begins to surprise you with timing and delivery far more elegant than anything the logical mind could devise. Living in the now doesn't mean ignoring your desires. It means embodying them. It means showing up today with the energy of someone who already has what they once prayed for. You smile more. You breathe more deeply. You act not out of need, but from fullness. You stop trying to prove, and instead you express. You live with an ease that magnetizes what you once chased. The present moment becomes not a waiting room, but the fulfillment itself. Unfazed by appearances, the 3D no longer controls you. This marks a profound shift in consciousness, one that separates those who live reactively from those who create deliberately. The 3D world, this physical realm of form, facts, and external validation, is nothing more than a delayed reflection of your inner state. It shows you what asterisk was asterisk, not what asterisk is becoming asterisk. And when you realize this, truly and deeply, the outer world begins to lose its grip on your emotions, your energy, and your decisions. To be unfazed by appearances does not mean you deny reality, nor does it mean you pretend something isn't happening. It means you no longer allow temporary conditions to determine your internal truth. You stop reacting to the delay, the contradiction, or the seeming opposition with fear or doubt. Instead, you respond with knowing. You understand that the outer world is simply catching up to the state you've assumed within. What you see today is the echo of yesterday's beliefs, and what you will see tomorrow depends entirely on the version of yourself you commit to being today. When the 3D no longer controls you, you become internally governed. You are no longer emotionally yanked around by a message you didn't receive, a payment that hasn't arrived, or a person who hasn't responded. These things may still occur, but they lose their power to disrupt your state. You do not need to suppress your feelings or fake positivity. Rather, you become anchored in a deeper truth that what you have accepted within must eventually take form, regardless of how it appears in the moment. This detachment from appearances is not detachment from desire. It's detachment from contradiction. It's the ability to hold the vision even when the scene looks wrong. You become so rooted in your assumption, in the imaginal reality you have claimed, that you can walk through any storm without letting it shake your foundation. The outer world may still test you, not maliciously, but mechanically showing you what used to be your truth. And if you remain unmoved, the mirror has no choice but to shift. This is the practice of creation, not forcing outcomes, but remaining faithful to the end you've already seen. The 3D is slow, dense, and bound by time. But the inner world, the world of consciousness, is immediate. When you dwell in the end, when you see yourself as already being the person who has what they desire, that becomes your dominant vibration. And when that vibration is consistent, reality bends to match it. You begin to treat appearances as passing, whether temporary, changeable, and without ultimate power. The circumstances no longer dictate how you feel or who you are. You become sovereign. You create from the inside out, and the 3D, once a source of anxiety and doubt, becomes something you observe, not obey. Yourself concept has elevated effortlessly. There's no dramatic moment, no explosion of clarity, no lightning bolt from above. Instead, it's subtle, graceful, and almost unnoticed. Like the rising of the sun, you begin to carry yourself differently. You think differently, speak differently, and make choices that reflect a deeper, more rooted sense of who you are. It feels natural, not forced. You don't have to constantly affirm your worth or rehearse new beliefs like lines in a play. You simply no asterisk, the old identity, the version of you that felt small, doubtful, unworthy, or uncertain, no longer feels like home. It feels foreign, like clothing that doesn't fit. An elevated self concept is not about arrogance or superiority. It's about truth. It's about remembering who you were before you were taught to shrink. You begin to feel deserving, not because you've earned it through suffering or hard work, but because it is your nature. You begin to expect love, success, peace, and abundance, not with entitlement, but with quiet confidence. This shift is internal and foundational. It doesn't scream for validation. It doesn't need applause. It simply is asterisk. When your self concept rises, it transforms everything you touch. You no longer chase people, approval, or outcomes. You are not desperate to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. You're not begging life to prove your value. You are living from the state of someone who already knows it. This doesn't mean you never feel challenged, but those challenges no longer define you. They become passing clouds in a sky that remains vast and clear. You begin to notice your boundaries become stronger, yet softer. You say no with ease. You don't explain yourself constantly. You stop making yourself smaller to be palatable. You begin to receive without guilt, give without depletion, and move without asking for permission. The energy of efforting drops away. You no longer strive to become the new version of yourself. You are asterisked. You're not trying to force worthiness into your system. It has already settled in your bones. You speak to yourself with kindness, not because you're trying to be positive, but because you truly believe you are worthy of that love. You look in the mirror and see someone you respect. You show up differently in relationships, not performing or pleasing, but simply being. And from that grounded presence, you attract different experiences. People treat you better, not because they've changed, but because you have. The world is always reflecting who you believe you are. And perhaps the most powerful part of this elevation is that it doesn't feel like work anymore. It's not a fight. It's not something you're clinging to with white knuckles. It's who you are now, Synchronicities begin aligning with your inner vision. What once felt like coincidence now feels like confirmation. You begin to notice patterns, signs, and meaningful moments that align so precisely with your desires and inner assumptions that they seem orchestrated. And in truth, they are. These are not random events. They are reflections, echoes of the inner shift you have made. When your inner world becomes clear, steady, and consistent, the outer world responds with harmony. Life starts speaking your language. It might begin subtly. You think of a person, and they message you. You imagine an opportunity, and it appears. You entertain the idea of something you desire, and then you overhear a conversation about it, or see it mentioned unexpectedly. These moments carry a certain energy, a quiet but powerful resonance that says, asterisk, you are on the right path. Asterisk, and the more you remain in alignment with your inner vision, meaning the more you live from the end, the more frequent and undeniable these synchronicities become. You're no longer looking to the world for validation, yet it keeps showing up to validate you. This is the paradox. When you need signs, they often feel distant, but when you no longer need them, when you've already accepted the truth of your desire within, you begin to see them everywhere. They are the world's way of saying, yes, we heard you. Yes, it's already yours. These synchronicities are not the source of your belief. They are the reflection of it. You didn't cause them through control or manipulation. You allowed them through alignment. This is the natural unfolding of reality when the inner and outer come into resonance. The things you used to struggle to make happen now seem to arrange themselves effortlessly. People show up, doors open, paths clear, not because you forced them, but because your energy became a match for them. The inner vision is the blueprint. It's the state you dwell in, the feeling you claim, the version of yourself you identify with. As you hold that vision steadily, without wavering, life responds by rearranging itself to reflect it. This is not magic in the traditional sense. It is the natural order of consciousness creating form. Synchronicities are like guideposts, letting you know that the invisible reality you've accepted is now beginning to press itself into visibility. And these signs are not always grand or dramatic. Often, they are quiet, intimate moments that carry deep personal meaning. Moments only you would understand. That's how you know they're real. They are tailored, specific, impossible to ignore, and they build momentum. The more you notice them, the more they appear, not because you're searching, but because you're seeing clearly. You've aligned with the frequency of your desire, and now reality is tuning itself to meet you there. Synchronicity becomes the language of your new self, the evidence that the inner work is working. Imagination becomes more real than reality, not because you've lost touch with the world, but because you've finally connected with the truth of creation. What you see with the eyes is a reflection, an echo of past beliefs and assumptions, but what you see within, through the faculty of imagination, is the seed of all that's to come. When your inner vision becomes vivid, consistent, and emotionally alive, it begins to feel more substantial than the 3D world around you. You no longer use imagination as escape. You use it as construction. It becomes your workshop, your sanctuary, and your source of truth. In this state, what you imagine begins to hold more authority than what your senses report. You may still hear no from the outside, but within you hear yes, so clearly that the external denial no longer carries weight. You may see delays, contradictions, or the absence of results, but within you the scene is already complete. The conversation has already happened, the opportunity already accepted, the outcome already achieved. You dwell in the end and it feels natural. The outer world may take time to catch up, but it's no longer where you live. You have moved inward, and from that sacred place, you command the shape of your world. Imagination, when used deliberately and with conviction, is not fantasy. It is creation. It's where you rehearse, embody, and stabilize your future self. You imagine not to wish, but to be asterisk. You do not just see the picture. You feel its atmosphere, hear its sounds, taste its reality. And over time, this imagined reality becomes your emotional home. You carry it with you. It informs how you speak, how you move, how you respond. It becomes more real than your circumstances because it lives closer to your consciousness than any fact ever could. The senses are always reporting what has already been accepted. They do not tell you what asterisk is asterisk real. They tell you what asterisk was asterisk real in a previous state of being. But your imagination, when guided by faith and feeling, tells you what asterisk is becoming asterisk. You begin to trust it more. You begin to lean on it when the world appears stagnant or uncooperative, and because you do, it begins to solidify. It becomes a place of peace, of certainty, of knowing. You return to it not for escape, but for instruction. It teaches you how to walk through the world as the version of yourself who already has asterisk. When imagination becomes more real than reality, the shift is complete. You are no longer at the mercy of the scene. You are no longer asking the world for permission to believe. You have claimed your identity, planted your vision, and returned to it so often that it has become your default state. You are living from within, and the world will eventually bow to the truth you now embody. Gratitude arises without visible change. It emerges not as a reaction to something gained, but as a natural expression of the inner knowing that what you have accepted within is already yours. This is not the forced gratitude taught as a technique or strategy to manifest faster. This is genuine, effortless appreciation that wells up from a place beyond logic. Nothing needs to happen outside for you to feel it. No one needs to show up. No confirmation email needs to arrive. The world doesn't need to shift for your heart to open. It already has. This kind of gratitude is powerful because it's rooted in conviction, not circumstance. It says, I am already blessed, even when the bank account doesn't reflect it. It says, I am already loved, even when no message has come. It's not based on what your eyes can see, but on what your soul has accepted. You feel grateful because you've touched the reality within yourself. You've tasted the fulfillment of the desire before it materialized, and because it feels so true in your inner world, your body and emotions respond as if it's already done. In this state, gratitude is no longer a means to an end. It becomes the end itself. You're not giving thanks so that something will happen. You're giving thanks because something already has happened in consciousness. And that's where all reality begins. The absence of change in the 3D no longer concerns you. You've seen it, felt it, known it within, and that's more than enough. The outer will follow in its time, but your inner world no longer waits. This is where a quiet joy arises. There's no striving, no impatience. You're not looking around for signs or proof. You're not checking to see if the process is working. You are the process. And because you are dwelling in the end as the person who already has what they desire, the emotional state of gratitude comes naturally. It's not planned or performed. It flows through you like breath. When you live in this state, the subtle background anxiety many carry, the question of when or how, dissolves. You've surrendered those questions because you've transcended the need for them. the end is known. The path is irrelevant. What matters is the felt truth in this moment, and in this moment you are fulfilled. So gratitude arises, not because everything has changed, but because you have. Your perception, your identity, your sense of reality, all of it has shifted. You begin to thank life without demanding anything in return. You see beauty where you once saw lack. You feel supported even in silence. The feeling is soft but certain, and in that stillness you become magnetic. The world begins to conform, not because you chased it, but because you matched it. Gratitude becomes the frequency of your state, not the reward for an outcome. It is the sign you've already moved into the reality you once longed for. You embody your desire as if it already is. There's no more pretending, no more hoping, no more waiting for a sign to give you permission to believe. You've assumed the end, and now you live from it. This is not about faking confidence or forcing optimism. It's about stepping into the identity that matches your vision so completely that it begins to feel like second nature. You are no longer chasing the outcome, because in your inner world it has already arrived. And because it has arrived within, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to reflect that new reality without effort. To embody your desire means you speak differently. You no longer talk about what you want in a future tense. You speak from the place of I am, not I hope to be. Your words carry the tone of fulfillment. Your decisions reflect the standards of someone who already has what they once sought. You no longer tolerate things that contradict your new state, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You no longer settle for crumbs when you've claimed the banquet within. It begins to show in the way you walk, in the energy you bring into a room, in how you hold yourself. You are not waiting to become, you are being. There's a quiet certainty in your presence, a calm authority that doesn't need to justify itself. This is not acting, it's remembering. You've remembered who you really are, and the world around you begins to mirror that remembrance. The people, opportunities, and experiences that match your new state start appearing, not as a reward, but as a reflection. When you embody your desire, you become unmoved by delay or contradiction. The 3D world may still reflect old patterns for a time, but they don't shake your foundation. You know they're just residue from a previous state, and you don't identify with them anymore. You remain loyal to the unseen because it is more real to you than what appears to be lacking. Your faith isn't blind, it's embodied. It shows in how you live, how you breathe, and how you choose. You've become the living proof of the thing you once only imagined. Embodying your desire doesn't mean you're constantly visualizing or affirming. It means you've internalized the outcome so deeply that it influences every part of you. You dress for the life you've claimed. You respond to challenges as someone who has already succeeded. You love yourself as if the love you once longed for is already flowing through you. There is no gap between you and the thing desired, because the version of you who has it is already here. This is the essence of living in the end, not as a concept, but as a state of being. You carry the feeling with you. You're not leaning forward into the future, trying to make it happen. You're settled, grounded, present, as if it already has, because in consciousness it has. And that shift within is what bends reality to meet you. What once triggered you now feels neutral or irrelevant. The situations, words, or people that used to stir emotional storms within you no longer carry the same charge. They haven't necessarily changed, but you have. Something fundamental has shifted inside your consciousness. You've stepped out of old loops of reaction and into a steadier place of self-possession. Where you once would have tensed up, defended, explained, or spiraled into self-doubt, you now simply observe. Not because you've numbed yourself or chosen avoidance, but because those experiences no longer match the version of you that you've become. This neutrality is not apathy. It's not a wall or a mask. It's clarity. You no longer need to extract meaning, proof, or worth from external conditions that once felt like threats. You no longer seek validation in places that once defined your self-esteem. And so when those familiar triggers appear, an old criticism, a rejection, a perceived slight, they barely register. You recognize them, maybe even smile at them, but they don't stick. They pass through like clouds in a sky that no longer storms. This change is not something you tried to force. It came as a result of embodying your desired state, of repeatedly choosing the self you want to be over the identity that was shaped by wounds, fears, and the need to protect yourself. The trigger loses its power because it was feeding off the old story you used to believe. And now that you've released that narrative, it has nothing to hold on to. What used to feel personal now feels distant, like a memory from a dream you've already awakened from. You find that you don't react where you used to. You don't need to prove your worth, defend your position, or seek approval from the same places. The emotional hooks have been removed. The inner landscape is more peaceful, more grounded. You've stopped rehearsing old hurts in your mind. You don't replay that moment or anticipate its return. And even when something arises that resembles the past, it doesn't bring the past with it. You're here now. Rooted different, this emotional neutrality is one of the clearest signs of transformation. It means you are no longer living in opposition to something. You are not avoiding triggers. You have transcended them. You've rewritten your inner script so thoroughly that the old patterns simply don't make sense anymore. They don't resonate. You've outgrown them. And because of that, you gain a new kind of power, not reactive power, but creative power. You're no longer drained by emotional battles that used to consume your attention and energy. That energy now belongs to your vision, your presence, your peace. You have space now, space to respond instead of react, to choose instead of defend, to create instead of cope. The trigger may still be present in the world, but it no longer exists within you, and so it loses its meaning. It becomes irrelevant, not because it was never real, but because you've moved beyond the version of yourself that needed it to be. And so the signs are clear, not written in the sky, but etched quietly in the soul. You don't need to ask if you've passed the universe's test, because by the time you wonder, you've likely already begun living the answer. The test was never punishment, never some cosmic obstacle course. It was simply an invitation to remember who you really are, a return to the truth that your inner world creates all. When peace replaces urgency, when gratitude arises without reason, when imagination becomes more real than facts, and when you respond to life from your desired end rather than your former wounds, you've already crossed the threshold. The shifts are subtle but irreversible. You don't wait to be chosen. You've chosen yourself. You don't chase the manifestation. You embody it. You no longer plead with reality. You instruct it through your state of being. And from that state, life can only reflect what you've already accepted within. No resistance, no fear, no noise, just quiet knowing, just the natural, effortless unfolding of what always belonged to you. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to remember it. And when you do, the universe doesn't test you anymore. It begins to align with you.